to Two Roads Crossing, a podcast production of the Christian Veterinary Mission. Do you wonder how your faith fits together with your profession? Well, join us as we explore how to live well at the intersection of two roads crossing.
Well, hello and welcome. This is Two Roads Crossing, and my name is Barry Schwenk. I'm a veterinarian and a pastor, and your host as we explore the intersection of faith and vocation. As we approach the holiday season, there are a lot of people who enjoy looking for opportunities and ways to give back. And CVM has a lot of ministry projects around the world that are supported by the generosity of many. And if you're one of those people, thank you. The work of the Lord is being done because you have been a blessing, and we really appreciate you. If you're listening and maybe you're interested in joining CVM's work around the world, maybe through a financial donation, you can do so through our app, or you can look at all the different projects that CVM is involved with around the world and donate at cvm.org at our website. But today what I wanted to do is I wanted to showcase one of those many outreaches, and so I invited Dr. Kelly Crowdis to give us some information about some of the work that's ongoing in Haiti. Kelly, I appreciate you joining me. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. It's exciting to be here.
Every time that I hear your name, it's usually in conjunction with being somewhere else. Like you were just in Bolivia not too long ago. So I appreciate you taking time, because it seems like you're constantly on the go.
Well, things have changed a little bit. I'm not full-time in Haiti anymore, like I was for 16 years. Now I'm working in the CVM office as the Latin American Caribbean Deputy Director for Missions. So I get to travel.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably keeps you moving. Well, and I also saw that that your son was involved in both football and football, which means that you probably have another full-time job just following him around. How's that been for him?
Oh my, yes, it's very exciting. Football, the soccer, the real football, is his prime love, but his buddies convinced him to play American football this year. So we're busy every day of the week this year with practices and games.
It's funny how that it's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, every afternoon, something after Monday through Saturday.
Well, I'm glad that he's making those friends and making that adjustment, and appreciate all the work and dedication that you've put into to CVM and in Haiti and in the U.S. and even for your son. So I appreciate you and appreciate all of that. And I wanted to, I guess, on the offset, we have, Haiti has been in the news for here recently, and we've been praying pretty diligently for our brothers and sisters there. Are there some specific ways that, as folks are listening, if they are have it upon their heart to pray for Haiti, are there some specific things that maybe you would encourage people to pray for?
As always, pray for peace. The gang violence and insecurity is really bad in Haiti, and it's sometimes in certain areas it's all the time and everybody knows, but the problem is that sometimes in the outlying areas it just pops up and you never know when it is. So people are living in uncertainty, and so for peace for them, and for them to be able to find work and food, because both of those are being affected.
It's interesting because, after in this post-COVID world, I think for a long time here in the U.S., we'd grown pretty comfortable, and so we experienced just a fraction of what people around the world are dealing with on a daily basis. That insecurity, that the instability. And I think maybe people can start to identify a little bit more and can be a little bit more empathetic about it. And so I appreciate you sharing that. I know that knowing how to pray is crucially important, and just having a little bit of that insight is great. But I wanted to talk with you about not just Haiti, because I think that if we started talking about Haiti, we could probably have a 12-hour conversation, which would not be a bad it would not be a bad thing at all. And maybe one day down the road, maybe we need to make that happen. But because there's a lot of good things happening in Haiti. And CBM has been involved with a lot of positive programs in Haiti for a very, very long time. But I want to talk to you a little bit about Give a Kid a Kid. Can you explain a little bit about what that program is and maybe how it got started?
So it started in 2009. It is a program for children between 4th and 6th grade, and it teaches them Bible literacy and goat husbandry. And to start with, we did a give back program where the children would give back a goat to the project, and then we would give that to another child. But it's gotten so big that we've restructured a little bit, because some years the most we've ever given out is 500 goats in one year.
Wow.
Yeah, and it depends on funding, how many we can give out every year. But we had a partner that year. So now it's structured that the children receive the same training. It's over a 6-month or 12-month period, either 2 lessons a month or 1 lesson a month. And halfway through, they get their goat. So we can follow them while they have their goats and make sure they're raising them well. And we give them a female goat that's either pregnant or ready to breed.
So, in essence, these children that are entering into the program, depending on whether they're on the 6-month or 12-month program, they're going to be getting Bible lessons as well as husbandry training either once or twice per month. And then halfway through, they're going to get a pregnant doe or one that's ready to breed. And that way they can start implementing the things that you've been teaching them how to do. And then you can monitor what they're, the follow-up with them and their goats. But once a child graduates from the program, what kind of obligation do they have back to the program, and what's kind of the expectation for that child and that goat moving forward?
Right now, the way we have the program structured, since we are helping the veterinary agents as well, the children actually have no obligation. The goat is theirs to keep. If they wanted to sell it, they could, but based on our surveys that we do every year, the children keep their goats, and the average child after a year or a year and a half has about 6 goats that they're looking after.
Oh, that's a pretty. Oh.
And then there's some, of course, there's highs and lows in that, but the average is 6. And they sell babies every year.
Always. So how are these kids identified, or how do they get into the program?
So it's through churches or schools, usually through the local church. The current trainers are graduates of our vet tech program. So their local churches in their community, they identify one, and they approach the pastor, and the trainer identify the children. And there's usually 20 in each group for one trainer.
Okay, so then once a child is identified by the trainer, along with a pastor or teacher, what's the next step kind of look like for a child entering into the program?
Okay. Typically, we do this at the beginning of the school year. Depending on when the school year starts, in September or October, and the children go through the program, and if they do the year-long program, it continues on into the next year. But the last 2 years we've all done 6-month programs, and because of that, we've been able to start another program during the year. So we're actually doing 2 sets of children a year now. We're getting ready to start a second set right now.
So this has really taken on, as the program has grown, um, you now have individuals who have gone through your animal healthcare worker or veterinary agent kind of programs who are now able to kind of oversee. So does that give them a little bit of, not just responsibility, but a little bit of respect within a community when they come in with a program like that?
Definitely. It builds their credibility. It helps them get known, and they're able to educate the people better. We don't only teach them how to make money, we teach them how to educate their communities. And I think that's the primary importance that they do. We call them agents of change
Oh,
because
that's great.
they're going
I like
back
that.
and changing their communities.
I love that. And when we think about, from a missions perspective, we talk about, and even going all the way back to, when Dr. Dormany got this whole ball rolling for us at CVM, the idea of partnering with individuals within the community and walking alongside of them to disciple them, to mentor them, and to empower them to be agents of change. And that's a beautiful, it's a beautiful picture of how discipleship is supposed to work. And you said now, initially that program was fairly big. Was fairly small, but now it's gotten to the point where it's pretty massive. What kind of impact, obviously there's some success there, so what kind of impact is that making, from a community perspective, and then from an individual perspective as well for these kids?
So the people, when we do community surveys after the project, the community is happy about it, and they're more aware of veterinary services in the area. And the individual parents, it's great fun because I used to teach adults how to take care of goats and nothing changed. But when we teach the kids, they see different ways than what their fathers raised the goats, and they implement these changes because of the projects, and then their parents change how they look after their goats. So that's one little one. But yeah, the individual success stories range from people being able to sell goats and buy cows, build rooms on their houses from goat sales, pay for their brothers and sisters to go to school, things like that.
Well, and it's interesting because with this program, um, by empowering your agents of change, and then by placing this resource in the hands of young people, the possibilities are endless. I mean, it's amazing to think about that the resources that are generated through that single training and that single gift could actually make an impact to where education is being paid for, and houses and medicines for sick people. Have you been kind of somewhat amazed by that kind of growth and progress?
Yes, definitely. From the beginning, it's been my heart project, and the one that I have lots of little projects that we work on in Haiti, but this one has been the most impactful that I've seen. I mean, we've followed some of the kids since the beginning in 2009, and now they're adults and have their own families, and it's quite interesting to see how different they are. They've matured, and our trainers don't just do the lessons, they become their mentors during the time they have their goats, because they're checking on them every week and every month with their goats, and it lets them have good life lessons and see good role models.
It's interesting because in this podcast, one of the things that we are exploring is that place where faith and our profession kind of intersect. And I think it's interesting because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, veterinary medicine and faith kind of walk hand in hand, and there's so much opportunity and so much impact. The idea that someone could, after receiving training, can walk into a community and have an immediate impact on the people around them, and can be integrated into into their family units and into their lives, and be able to speak into life. I mean, that's a wonderful picture, and I love the way that has been working out. I'm assuming that over the years, though, Give a Kid has had some struggles and some lessons that have had to be learned. What would you say what would you say are some of the biggest hurdles that this particular project has?
Obviously, when we first started, we did the Give Back program, and that takes a very strong church leadership and commitment from the community to help protect the goats and from theft, because that's a big problem in Haiti for any goat herder, and to oversee the kids. When you don't have that community support and the church support, things it kind of crumbles a little bit in the structure of it. And then just having, their kids, so there's always some child that doesn't really do what they're supposed to do. and
Shocking.
and I know some other people have tried to model it and try to make it into a business kind of thing, where they're paying sustainably for another program, which that is our goal, but we're dealing with live animals and with children. Things don't always go according to plan if you're trying to make money on it.
Right.
So just being cognizant of all of those kind of things, that it's not a perfect system and things will go wrong.
Well, and then I would imagine then that's one of the reasons why this particular ministry really is dependent on the generosity of donors, and we recognize. I mean, we have a lot of children's programs. Kids knocked on my door the other day selling candy bars for cheer and for we support a lot of children's projects, and recognize that growing and having growing pains is just part of that process. What have you experienced, I think, from partnering with people financially? How has that been, and how important are those individuals for the success of this project?
Well, they are what make the project. Without generous donations from people all over the country, even different parts of the world, the project wouldn't exist. Sometimes we can find grant funding for different people that will give grants, but generally it's individual donors. And it's a great activity for vacation Bible schools or Sunday school classes, and to get a picture of a group of children and know that those kids are helping another group of children to advance in their lives. So it's a pretty special thing.
How does that actually work when someone makes a donation? Is there do you know approximately what the cost is for one child to receive a goat, and the education and all the training? Do you have a cost breakdown of things like that for someone who might be interested?
So for a year program, for the goat, transportation for the goat, rope for the goat, a bucket for the goat, books, a Bible, the Bible curriculum, and a stipend for the trainer, and buying a buck so that they have something to breed to, that the trainer has available for them to breed to, is about $150.
Oh, wow.
For a year.
It's interesting because there are lots of, one of the things I love about Give a Kid, and this is the thing I think that really separates it, is the discipleship and the mentoring component that goes along with it. When someone partners with you financially, it's not just to drop a resource into an area and walk away. This is a long-term commitment. How many of the kids, or I guess maybe this is probably a question probably you don't have an answer to, but do you see a lot of kids who had received goats return back to the program to help with mentoring other kids that are receiving goats?
We haven't had, well, that's not true. Some of the people from the first year, yes, they are involved in it, but it's a little hard because in the past few years, we've tried to branch out to new communities where graduates are, and we try to empower them as part of the program, mentoring to them. So we're not duplicating it in a lot of different areas, but some of them we are. And yes, those kids do come back and help and hang around and come back to class and stuff.
So this is really a program that, and again, is not just growing, but it's growing outwardly. So it's growing up and it's growing out at the same time, which is pretty phenomenal. And given all of the challenges, and even the current instabilities, it seems like maybe a program like this does give a little bit of security for the kids in the communities that have gone through all this training.
Yeah, and it gives them hope and something to do. So they aren't just sitting around and they aren't looking at the gangs and hearing that this is the best thing to do, to go out and you'll make money and stuff if you go join a gang. But if you look after your goat and take care of it, so will you too.
So when you think about this particular program, where do you see it headed? Do you see, I know you've seen several iterations of this. Is there a next step, or what is it you're looking forward to most as this program moves forward?
I mean, it's always exciting to see the kids come to Christ. That happens, and I mean, that's our goal. We use the goats as a tool, so seeing more kids come to Christ in each class is always something that we strive for. But right now, the current iteration is going quite well. So we don't want to rock the boat right now. Obviously, if things are more stable and we have more funding, we can go to more communities. Right now, it is a blessing because in all of this insecurity, most of our graduates come from rural areas, so they still are able to serve their communities. So we've kind of backed off on some of the larger communities that are close, or smaller communities that are close to towns, and gone more rural.
Yeah, I mean, we constantly have to be adjusting, right? And it seems like that program has been one that has been able to flex with different circumstances, and as the blessing has increased in different places, you've probably seen lots of fruit, and where there's challenges, God's kind of helped you navigate through all of those things. I appreciate you sharing this. I think it gives us some really good insight. If people are wanting to be involved, if they're wanting to pray for this project, if they're wanting to financially support, what are the things? How would you encourage them to partner with you?
Well, for prayer, I would pray that we're able to reach the communities that God would have us to reach, and that the children that are chosen for the project are ones that will do good in it and will come to know the Lord if they don't already. Financially, you can support. You go on, I believe it's under special projects, and it's called Give a Kid to a Kid, or you can go through my webpage on CVM under special projects.
Perfect. Well, and I think what we'll do, if for folks that are watching this podcast through YouTube, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll add a button somewhere around here. If I put my finger over here, does that mean it goes? I don't know. They're going to put a button somewhere, so that way people can just click the Give Now button, and it would direct you directly to Kelly's page. If you're not on YouTube, but you're listening on any of our other podcast platforms, well, first of all, thank you. I'm glad you're listening, and hopefully, if you are interested in supporting this ministry, we will have a a hyperlink to make a donation in the description of this podcast. Kelly, I appreciate you, like I said before, taking the time just to share a little bit. This project has been one that, I see from time to time pictures on Facebook. I read in letters. I can tell, our own kids have participated in VBS donations for this, and it's just it's a ministry project that's near and dear to my heart, and I appreciate all the time and energy and faithfulness that you put into it and into those communities. And let's face it. So for everyone else who is listening here, God's blessed us in many different ways. We have a lot of things, including things we take for granted, like security and stability. And God has blessed us in this way so that as we heed his calling and we follow his spirit, that he can use us to be a blessing to others. And this is a wonderful way. God is working all around the world, and we are called to join him, to partner with our brothers and sisters, and to make disciples of all nations. And as we step out in faith, as we learn how to live compassionately and generously, I think as we do that, we begin to understand what it means to live well at the intersection of two roads crossing.
Thank you for listening to Two Roads Crossing, a podcast production of the Christian Veterinary Mission. If you are blessed by this content, like and subscribe so that you are alerted when new content is released. If you would like more information about CVM, or if you have questions, comments, or topical suggestions, you can find us online at www.cvm.org. Or you can contact us by emailing podcast@cvm.org. God has a plan for the nations, and that plan includes you. We pray that CVM has encouraged you to live out your calling with confidence and competence. So, until next time, may the voice of the shepherd ring loud and clear as you follow him in faith to the intersection of two roads crossing.